The moment the word comes out of Hal Jordan's mouth, Sinestro calls it the second biggest threat Hal is facing.
If one still existed, they'd be the second greatest threat you're currently facing.
And for some reasons, he changes the subject to John Stewart. So what is the first biggest threat? Why is the Manhunter the second biggest threat? And why is he so much interested to know about John? Since he failed to explain to Hal what a Manhunter is in episode 2, then I will take that question from him and throw some light on what a Manhunter is, because it suggests that Hal is in even more trouble than he has ever been. There are decades of comic history coming into this, so we will explain the meaning of the word, and by that, expect heavy spoilers. But if you want only what the show has confirmed, skip past the Krona and Sector 666 parts, and meet me at Anton. Before there was a Green Lantern Corps, the Guardians of the Universe looked at a galaxy full of crime and decided they needed a police force that could never be bribed, never tired, never scared, and never quit. And the best definition of that is machines. They built machines and named them after an older order on Mars, and they sent them out to work with one tagline: "No man escapes the Manhunters." Anton said to John in that holding room when he got abducted, "There was a time of chaos in the galaxy, then the Manhunters came, synthetic and able to build new bodies, which means, in Anton's words, they could take the form of any species." I don't know why they will build them this way, because that makes them so terrifying. There is this man Krona, one of the Guardians, who wanted to prove a point. And that came out because an argument arose between them. His belief was that law enforcement without feeling would eventually go wrong, and rather than write a memo about it, he reprogrammed the Manhunters to demonstrate it. And the machines worked exactly according to their new program. Krona said crime comes from emotion, and it is living things that have emotion. So if you want zero crime, then you want to erase living things. That is the new code he gave the Manhunters. What makes humans the best species in the entire galaxy is that, while there is law and order, humans are capable of love. But this thing that Guardians build have laws, and they exist to maintain order, but they are incapable of love. They have no emotions to show mercy, patience, and can never want a man to live even though he is guilty of a crime. So, because they prioritized order, they did a grave mistake by handing it over to machines incapable of love and can easily be corrupted. And what the Manhunters first did in space was to go to Sector 666 and finish it. They wiped out every living thing in that sector except 5 people who managed to survive. And those 5 walked away so hollowed out by it that they formed a group called the 5 Inversions and spent the rest of their existence trying to end the Guardians. One of them, and comics fans already know where this is going, is Atrocitus. That genocide is what Anton did not want to tell John about, but instead pushes into his dead NA vision. His whole species got wiped out by one Manhunter that had been living among them the entire time, lived in their home, yet nobody spotted it. I cannot tell if there are more of him. Anton is part of the 5 Inversion that wanted to end the Guardians in the comics, and now in the show he is in Nebraska, with rage written all over him. Listen to what Hal said. Abin Sur must have brought him here, and the Manhunter killed him. In the comics, that is almost exactly what led to Abin Sur's death, with some swap, though. In Secret Origin, Abin Sur goes to Ismol, and he leaves with a prisoner from Sector 666, a survivor of the Manhunters, not a Manhunter. That prisoner gets loose, works on Abinsur's fear until his constructs fail, and the greatest lantern in the sector falls out of the sky over Earth. That is why the ring found Hal. If what Hal said is true, then the show changed the prisoner from a Manhunter survivor to a Manhunter itself, which means Hal got his ring on the funniest line. A Manhunter needed a ride, and the man who gave him the ride died. While Hal thinks he's inherited a job, he actually has inherited the job that Abensur died for. Now, the Manhunter is loose somewhere, and nobody knows who he is or where he is. Hal has been playful ever since this started, but the moment John told him about the Manhunter, all of a sudden I can see the serious side of him begin to unveil itself. And yeah, this is not a comedy show. He better be serious because danger is on the loose. Do not be quick to judge Anton as the villain. At least, so from what I've said so far this episode, he's not. Though he chased John down, kidnapped him and all that, I think every man in his shoes will do just that. His whole sector was destroyed, so the man is grieving. And why give John this task when he could do that himself, or let his people do that? Before, he tracked a radiation signature to Rushville, and his people died when they went in. That is why he grabs John off the pavement outside an airport, taser and all, pushes a genocide into his mind, gives him 48 hours to find the Manhunter, and promises to detonate himself and take a chunk of western Nebraska with him if John fails. If he actually does that, they can tag him a villain, but now it's too soon. And he even tells John not to tell Hal, because just as John told Hal later on, they don't trust you, in fact, he made it explicit that I shouldn't tell you any of this. He believes Hal protected one of these things instead of executing it, so Anton came to Earth to stop a machine that destroys civilizations, and within a day, he has threatened to destroy a town, isolated the one man who could help, and turned a rookie into a spy against his own mentor. This is him quietly turning into a Manhunter himself, and he doesn't know yet. Which brings us to what Sinestro said. Why is a Manhunter dangerous? Is it because it is strong? Undoubtedly, yes. That's what makes an enemy worthy to be called an enemy. But why is Sinestro putting at the top of threats? And why must this be a problem for Hal specifically? Hal fights with two tools, the ring which runs on will. The Green Lantern Corps was formed after Manhunters got corrupted. The Guardians realized their mistake and decided that actual Corps with emotions and capable of love should be formed instead, and this one, unlike the machines, runs on a feeling, willpower. The Manhunter is the prototype they scrapped for having no feeling at all. So when Hal points that ring at a Manhunter, he is pointing an emotion-powered weapon at the one thing in creation that was manufactured with the emotion removed. Now, the second tool he has is being a detective, and not like a space cop that throws powers here and there. He is working undercover to uncover crimes. He works Rushville by reading faces, catching the timing of a lie, noticing that Macon's men knew exactly who to target. All of that depends on people slipping. A Manhunter, however, does not slip. It was made to take any form that it wants by building a body, learning the accent. It dines with you, and it's nearly impossible to sense something fishy about it. At the mention of John, Sinestro is creating a doubt in Hal's mind. What if the Manhunter is John? So he's making Hal look at John and wonder. Sinestro may be counting himself. He may be counting the Guardians, who built this thing, buried it, and are now the one phone call Hal refuses to make. Remember Hal snapping, "I'm not calling the Guardians." He may mean Hal's own arrogance, which is the classic answer with this character. Any of those is a reasonable number one. And if that is what he meant, fine. But notice they all arrive the same way the Manhunter does. Something Hal trusted turns out to be hollow. Sinestro is not disagreeing with me. He is telling me there is more than one of these in Hal's life. From what we've learned about a Manhunter, we know, at least in theory, know what they can do. A synthetic thing that can wear, and species and take any new form, and then there's this new guy that nobody can vouch for, plus Sinestro getting curious about him at the exact wrong moment. So is John the Manhunter? You and I will disagree, based on the evidence we have seen and all that we know about John. Anton tells John that a living construct is practically impossible, that the bird is proof he can achieve the impossible. Did you see Hal's face when John made that bird out of Will? That means John did something that even he, Hal, will find it difficult to do. Flying is so much more easier than bringing something like that to life. It requires a very strong willpower to do that, something that the machines, or to say it properly, the Manhunters lack. Because we have been told the machines are emotionless. So if John were a machine, then that's something he should be able to do. If John were the Manhunter, the bird is the one thing he shouldn't be able to make. And the vault in Coast City opens to Mogo Doesn't Socialize, a sentient planet that hands rings to the worthy. This show does not spend its Easter eggs carelessly. But do you see what already happened there? This is setting up an answer to the question about whether John Stewart can be trusted. I believe this throws more light on what a manhunter is, if you don't know about it. The mention of the word makes you think it is a monster. But now we have seen that is far from it. It is something the Guardians themselves created, and someone weaponized it to prove a point. Even though the task was given to John, it has now become Hal's job to find the Manhunter. He has 48 hours to work with a partner he was told to doubt. A mentor behind glass enjoying every second of it. And bosses he won't call because they are the ones who built the problem. Damn right, it's the greatest threat he is facing. The second greatest is that he still thinks this is a murder case. If this is the kind of breakdown you want more of while Lanterns runs, subscribe and keep an eye on the channel.